forecast on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Currently, it's 39.
And it is Wednesday. It's the noon hour. That means it's time for Senior Talk, which is brought to you by the Solon American Legion. And here's your host, Rex Brandstatter.
Good afternoon, everybody. Grab your hat and sit down and listen to Senior Talk. That's my best advice for today. Wow, it's really going to crank up out there. In fact, as we speak, it's cranking up pretty good. So whatever they're calling for, 30 to 40 with gusts about it, I believe it, totally believe it. The travesty about all this is if it's this garbage day in your neighborhood, it'll be all over the area. So look out, go home and take it in or do something. That's the bottom line of life. It's garbage day when the wind blows so hard. So, well, listen, folks, thank you for joining me on such a apropos, we're going to call it late fall day because it's not winter yet, here on the Senior Talk, the weekly program for seniors and those who hope to be seniors someday, for God's sakes. Well, hello there, and thank you for listening to Senior Talk. You know, it's really not easy being a senior because we have lots and lots of things to think about almost daily in the back of our minds, if not the front of our minds. That would include retirement. Maybe pre-retirement or talk retirement, or maybe you're retired and talking about, well, maybe I might get a part-time job. I need something to do, or I'm 100% happy being retired, whatever the discussion could be. Health, maybe health issues. As seniors, we always have something bothering us. Always. Income, financial issues, expenses, family issues, living arrangements, and more. And we'll work on a lot of these on Senior Talk as we go. And, you might not hear anything, but you might not hear something or pertain to you particularly. But you might hear some things on Senior Talk that could help someone in your family, maybe one of your friends, maybe your relative who's been dealing with some things that we might talk about here. And this is a good place to bring it up to them and maybe see how they're handling the situation or maybe not handling the situation, whatever the case may be. I talked to a lot. During the week, I talked to lots and lots of seniors with lots of different ideas and issues and problems and challenges, and they're not afraid to talk to me about them, and that's the beauty of Senior Talk. I get to bring a lot of those to hear for us to listen to. So why don't you do this once you grab yourself a sandwich and a nice cold root beer and see what we can cook up. Well, my name is Rex Brandstatter. I'm 75 years old, and I've been a licensed Iowa real estate broker since 1974. That's my real day job, and I work mainly with seniors and senior families. I work with executors of estates, administrators of estates, trust departments of banks call me to help them sell and properties for people who have maybe passed away, or the attorneys for these people, families call me, and they want to sit down and talk with the mom and dad because they're seniors and they have some issues about, thinking about maybe renting, selling the house and renting, maybe selling a house and buying a condominium, maybe selling a house and moving somewhere, maybe selling a house and just renting. All these are scenarios that I work with, and I'll be happy to help you. And I have a senior line, which is 319-330-5534, 330-5534. Give me a call. If I'm not there, I will politely take your name and number, and I will call you back. I absolutely guarantee that. Well, how much fun can you have at Kinnick Stadium when it's colder than all get out on a Friday night at 6:30, starting at 6:30? How much fun can you have? Well, the first half was no fun at all. I'm telling you, people left. A lot of people, I don't bet a lot, but several people left at halftime. But how much fun can you have? Well, it's a lot of fun when you're surrounded by a bunch of Nebraska fans in this case, and they're crowing and they're really strutting their stuff at halftime. And boy, you Hawkeyes are worthless. You guys aren't very good. Blah blah blah. Look at us. And at the end of the game, they were nowhere to be found in our section. They had vacated it right off before the football went through the goalpost at the south end zone. I think they were heading out. They could see what was going to happen. So that's how much fun you could have. I dressed in layers. My wife blew the game off about middle of the week. She said, "Forget that. I'm not going over there in that cold weather." And I don't blame her for that. They actually gave me 2 seats instead of 1. Ha ha. But the old Boy Scout way method, I dressed in layers. And I told my wife on the way home, I called her and I said, I'm glad I had every layer on that I had on. The wind did die down, and we sit on the east stand, so we had the wind in our face pretty good. But if you know what you're doing, I thought I knew what I was doing, but you listen to my voice, I've got a cold and kind of been coughing and hacking. So now I'm paying the price for sitting outside at Kinnick Stadium. But I'm telling you, folks, when that final kick went through, all of a sudden it wasn't cold. The magic. Somehow it just turned to magic. It was not cold at all after that. Ha ha. So that's the scoop. So I recommend if you go do that, know what you're doing when dressing because you can stay a long time. And yes, I used a lot of those little hand warmers. I put stuff down in my gloves, and I tried some that they go in the soles of your shoes. You put them down in there. I tried those. Those worked pretty good. So I did pretty good over there. I wasn't willing to leave there. I enjoyed myself. The things didn't look good for Iowa fans, just like they did last night at basketball. Looked pretty grim right up to the last thing. In the football, Iowa led for the last 3 seconds. And last night, Iowa had the lead for a long time in basketball before giving it up. And in the last 0.8 seconds, Josh Dix hit a shot, and Iowa won. And as the old Yogi Berra used to say, it ain't over till it's over. And I think that's a valuable lesson for we Hawkeye fans. We seem to get in on a lot of these two-out Bob the Night type of things, and sometimes we win them, sometimes we don't. But the last couple have been good for us. Well, I had the indecency. We had the indecency of a little snow on Monday. Actually, enough of that. But as we all know, we're kind of just getting started, and we'll have to see what happens. I want you to think about it, and if you think about what I'm going to say, then it even makes it even more of a challenge, unfortunately. But I want you to be extra careful when you're walking outside. Now, as soon as you start thinking about what you're doing, that's probably when you'll fall on your fanny. But if you know it's a little slippery, we've had some snow, and it doesn't take much to go on your old can, I'll tell you that. So please be on the lookout. And we've got a long ways to go, so just a simple steps. I've fallen down many times. Kind of jump over that area there. There's a little snow there, and pretty soon you can get going 100 miles an hour from standing straight up to when you hit the deck. You can go going 100 miles an hour. So just please be careful as we go here, for sure. Well, as we close out 2024, it's a perfect time for you to sit down and go through kind of an interesting thing. We've done this many times at our house. At the end of 2024, and we're getting there. Maybe you don't have to do this yet. But sit down and just go through your checkbook. Just get the checkbook out and just see where you wrote checks. Now, a lot of you maybe keep your credit card receipts or your readouts. Same thing. You can keep those as well. And just look and see where you wrote checks or charged things. And just kind of make a heading over here like food or entertainment or gas type of thing. And kind of get a real read on yourself. And when you do the checkbook thing, you'll see some recurring things, a grocery store, a gas station type of thing. Same with the credit card. And you'll finally start to get a grip on where your money is going. Where does all the money go? I don't know. Well, you went to Hy-Vee 3 times, or you went to the grocery store, different grocery stores 6 times, and I forgot about that over there. Yeah, we did go down to the mall. I did buy something there. You just you don't realize it when you're spending it, but when you see it, I did spend $132 over there, or $16 9 times. It's just a good time to check up on yourself, kind of a review, if you will. And once you've down a few columns like food, gas, house payment, or car payment, if you still have those, entertainment, repairs, you'll begin to see where it all goes. And this is all just designed to let you make sure you have a clue on your financial, maybe not so your financial status, but your financial direction. And you might not want to know all this stuff, but therein lies some of the problem. Pretty boring and mundane to do that, but it's so important to each one of us. You had no idea you were spending that much on groceries. You had no idea you were spending that much at the mall every month. Until you look at your checkbook. Oh man, I didn't really need that stuff. I paid $57. I really didn't need all that kind of stuff. Well, it's kind of the tail of the tape that they call that. So, well, I was talking to a senior lady, and she was all depressed. And she said, I'm the POA, which is power of attorney, for my sister. She said, well, I was the POA for my sister. She recently passed away, and unfortunately, she left no will. We've looked all over for it, and can't find the will. And I talked to my attorney, who also, we use the same attorney, which is going to save us a little time and effort and money in the long run. And I have now been appointed the administrator, which means when there's no will, you become the executor or the executress, one or the other. And if there's no will, then your attorney has to draw papers in the court. A local court system has to approve the naming of the administrator. Now, it could be a family member, could be a friend, could be a confidant, things like that, a live-in other, or anything like that, as long as it's the court approves. And the court will ask the attorney, and the attorney will ask the person that they're going to nominate, meaning this lady, give us some background about you, who you are, where you are, blah, 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 because they don't want anybody in there who can't, quote, doesn't have the time, can't handle it, they don't feel like can handle the situation. So, anyhow, this lady's now the power of attorney, no longer the power of attorney, she's now the administrator of the estate for her sister. And there's no will, and she says, there are 3 of us kids left, and the other 2 live on the West Coast. And she says, I'm the only one who knows the ropes around here. Well, she then becomes the perfect one to handle these things by locale. Now, it's going to take some time and effort. If you've ever been a power of attorney or an administrator, it does take some time and effort to do that. So the 2 that live out of state really would have a hard time handling this. That is a fact. I told her, well, you're going to have your work cut out for you, but feel free to consult your attorney. When there are questions along the way, give he or she a call and ask the questions. Don't sign some things. You are now the boss of everything that your sister had. As the administrator, if you read the paperwork on there, you can make all the decisions. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but the standard administrator thing is you have the ability to sell her car, sell her house, sell her collections, sell her whatever she might have had. You won't get anything for clothes, but her piano, things like that. You are now the boss. You're in charge, which makes her estate becomes the client. Okay, so her estate is so if she sells the piano, the money goes to the estate, not to the administrator's sister, but goes to the estate. And they sell the house. The money, all the proceeds from the sale of the house, all go to the estate, and the money sits in a bank account. They shoot this. The administrator would have had to open a new bank account to get started with, so no funds are mingled and stuff like that. And she marches on. Now, I don't know how far down the road they are, but there are death certificates you have to get from the insurance, from the funeral home. You have to prove that your sister has passed away. I mean, there's a lot of pretty mundane things to do, and none of them are fun. There's no question about that. But when I said to you got your work cut out for you, I said this happens all the time, and you can handle it. I don't mean to scare you to death, but you can handle it. So away she goes. I said, if you like, you can call me. I can help you with some ideas. I'm not your attorney. Call me with some ideas on what you could do, what you consider doing. But a couple of things you might want to do right away is get that death certificate from your funeral home, which takes usually 3 weeks to 4 weeks to get that. But you've got to cancel Social Security. You got a million things to do. You got to take things out of your sister's name, put them into the estate's name, alert everybody that's sitting now in the estate. I want you to go find the abstract. I want you to go to her house and find insurance policies, because maybe she had a life insurance policy. You don't know. If she never told you, how would you know? And go through everything piece by piece. People do hide things and stuff them in books and different places. So you do have your work cut out. In the end, if you want to give me a call, we can sell the house for you, and away we go. Find the abstract of the house, any paperwork, insurance policies, car titles, anything like that. That's your job now. She says, oh, my God. She says, there's no will. We looked around, but I didn't think about those other things. So she's away she goes. All right. Well, a senior man advises this. I've decided to redo my house on the inside. Wow. I am now alone and want to update and refresh the house. Where? He says, where do I start? I said, well, that's a good idea. You want to refresh it on the inside. I like that because it's winter's going to be here. Let's do the inside. We can talk about the outside later. He goes, that was my plan. So here's what I want you to do. I want you just to sit down at the kitchen table, and I want you to write a bunch of things down. I want you to write down some things that you think need to be updated and things you want to be updated. Maybe you would write things down like paint and carpet, maybe a wood floor with a question mark, or light fixtures and countertops, cupboards, and a room use. That's a good room use. Well, we've always used that front porch out there as the front porch. Maybe you want it to be something else. I've always wanted to have a bedroom a TV room in the bedroom type thing, more of a cozy type feel. Now you can kind of sit down and do some planning. on things like that, all right? Window views and maybe more. Also realize that if you refresh inside, you then should have maybe a 2 to 3 year plan for the outside. Now, the plan for the outside, without me seeing your house, it would be shingles and siding color maybe. Driveway needs to be addressed, garage door type of thing, trees, shrubs. But let's do the interior this winter. So I'm saying to you folks listening today, this is a really, really good time to at least write down some things to be done, and maybe you can write them down and then say, you know, I was thinking about some different paint, and go to a paint store and get some different samples and take them home and how that looks on the wall. Go to some of these, go to a lighting studio. And you can start at places like Lowe's. Menards has a big lighting studio. Got all kinds of them up on the ceiling. Different places around town have that too, for sure. Get an idea. This man is kind of like carte blanche. He says, I'm going to be living there for a long time. So that answered the question whether or not we need to do something in the spring, which would be yes. And I said, you know, this sounds like kind of fun. He goes, well, yeah. My wife passed away 3 years ago, and he says, I'm just sitting here looking at the same old place. I want to do some things. I said, good for you. He said, I see a lot of houses on TV. And then he says, I look at my stuff and my decor. So I said, are you going to be in the furniture business? Yep, I want to get myself a new chair. I get a different TV. He's going all in on this thing. Good for him. I really applaud him for doing that. So he says, I'm a long way from having an inviting home. And I said, well, guess what? There are a lot of local good designers. Why don't you just go look? I don't want you to call anybody to hire anybody. You might in the future. But just write these things down and then go look. You will be surprised at the things you see at these big box stores. It's all out there to see. Or maybe you go to some local professional lighting stores, things like that. You need to go to a plumbing section at these stores and see what they have on it. Call up plumbers. Let's see if they have a showroom. Go see the thing. Go see the washer dryer people. And see what's out there that you're going to do this. Go for it, my friend. Go for it. Good for you, and have that. So I have a question for you, for each of you listening. If you were out of town, or if you had a sudden health issue, would someone know your house? Would someone know how to get in your house? Legally, by the way. I'm going to recommend you do this. What I call a house function tour. So you got your neighbor next door who's had a key to your house. You know, you leave town and they have a key and stuff like that. Excuse me, that's all well and good, but what if they're over there at the house and they go check on it and they hear water gurgling? What are they going to do? They don't know who to call, where to go, what to do, unless you offer them this house tour, this house function tour. Now, I've given my wife the house function tour several times. I make her go, and she rolls her eyes. But we always learn something, for sure. It's a reminder type of thing. And I want you on this house tour type thing. Your neighbor has the key, and you can take your husband or your wife, whoever you want to have help you with this. I want you to show them the location of the electric box and open it up and show them the different circuits. The water meter, where it is. The water meter usually down in the basement. How do you turn it on or off? The furnace and the water heater areas, and you could show them where the furnace filter is. The attic access. Well, we've never been up in the attic. Well, all right, that's because it's out in the garage. You've never paid attention to keys. I want you to show them all extra keys, by the way. And you should have in your home. You really should consider having a list of vendors. And I call them vendors. You can contract. I just call them vendors. And on that list, and you could have it on a bulletin board. You could have the name of the plumber that you like with their phone number, the name of the electrician that you like with their phone number, name of a locksmith with their phone number, all kinds of things on that phone number. The doctor, an attorney, your brother. You can have all kinds of things on the list, but the house vendors things need to be on there for sure. So the neighbor's taking a look at things, and all of a sudden the light doesn't work, or there seems to be a job. The neighbor can go look and see if there's a breaker switch has been, and at least maybe try the breaker. If that doesn't work and you're in Florida, or maybe he calls you and you tell him to call the electrician, the name that's on the list. You've got to do some things. But you need to take a tour of your own home, specifically looking at the water meter this time of night, maybe where the water softener hooks in there, because a water problem is a real issue. So if you haven't taken a functional tour of your house, I want you to do that. And now's the time to do it because it's cold outside. And now's the time if things go wrong, they're not fun to deal with for sure. All right. A senior lady called and said this. She says, I just got an invoice from our snow removal company for November. But it never snowed in November. Aha, she said. She says, I called them and here's what they told me. The contract that we used and the one you signed, the guy told him, says the basic fee for a month, I think it was $150, whether it snows or not. And if it snows, you're given credit for that month. So in other words, she paid $150 in November to that company, but it never snowed. So she was expecting the $150 back. Well, you can see what's going on here, and I'm not so sure that I'm against this contract. Is that she signed the contract, which it goes November through March. So November, December, January, February, March. 5 months. So that company, snow removal company, is going to make $150 at a minimum for 5 months, whether it snows or not, if you want to be on their list. If not, why, you won't be on their list, and you can go fish. So she said, I called them, and they said the contract we use, one you signed, says the basic fee for a month, whether it snows or not. So it snowed on November. It did snow. I think it snowed on December 1st. So they didn't show up in November, but you still had to pay. But remember now, she's on the company has to have some thing to do, basic income there. So if it doesn't snow that month, you'll still owe the money as part of the contract. Is this legal? She said. I said, yes, it is. You have the snow guys on contract. Otherwise, you don't have them on contract. If you don't sign that, they say, well, I'll see you later. We have people who are happy to pay the $150 a month whether it snows or not, just so they know that when it does snow, we're going to be here. And if it snows, that's your first payment is $150. You've got credit right there. You're not getting beat up. It just didn't happen to snow, for God's sake, which is a good thing, I guess. So I kind of assured her. I said, you can do whatever you want, but I said that's a pretty valid. I've heard about these contracts many times. It's a good valid contract. So here's a fun reality for you. In your home, as you're doing some of these things that I'm suggesting that you consider this functional house tour, and you don't have to be the gentleman I talked to you about wanting to make some changes. You could want to make some changes yourself, whether you live by your own or anything like that. You say, I'm thinking about making some changes. There's light fixtures and painting and things like that. You need to go on that little tour around town yourself and take a look at some light fixtures and some plumbing fixtures. There's nothing worse than living in a house and you're letting things go. That's not the way to run the railroad, for sure. Well, this fun reality says, I'm asking you now, do you have a central location for keys? Well, I'll tell you that we do at our house, and it comes in so handy it isn't even funny. It really, really does. And we have in the washer dryer room, I put up a big bulletin board with some of that corkboard stuff on there, and there we have extra car keys, extra fob, those things you carry in your pocket if you don't have a key for your car. And years ago I did that, and we use that so many times. Well, case in point, we got a new car. My wife got locked out the first day. She locked herself out. So I just happened to take the extra one she got, put it on there. So the first day, amidst my laughing and chuckles, I went down and unlocked her car down at the grocery store for her. But many of you, well, I don't know. I had it in my jeans last night. I think they're in that drawer over there. Folks, these are keys to your car, keys to your house, keys to your storage shed, keys to your motorcycle, keys to your motor home, all kinds of things. Get them in an area that you know where they are. This is really, really simple stuff. But I know a lot of you, we're in that drawer, in the drawer number 1 out there. Well, that's not the way to do things. Get yourself just a little bit. These are so simple to do. Just a little bit organized, all right? I guarantee you're not going to have a key to all your doors, and which raises the next question. If you came home and did what my wife did one time and got locked out of her car, how about if you got locked out of your house? What are you going to do? You are now locked out of your house. Oh, my God, what do you do? Well, you could consider, I don't know if you want to do this or not, but bad guys know where to look for keys you can hide, but you can hide a key on the outside. You can buy several things on the outside. You can go to a lumber yard, or when I say lumber yard, I mean Lowe's or Menards or any other place like that, Tyson's place. You can buy, I call a realtor's lockbox and put on there with a code nobody knows, put it on a door handle of a different door and have a key in there. Lots of things you can do. You can have put a electronic lock put on with a code on it, so you don't have to worry about a key. There are a lot of things you could do. But if you come home and you're locked out, Boy, is that a sinking feeling, I'll tell you. So we handled that many, many years ago, so we don't worry about that. So do you think you have keys for all your doors? Do you think you have key to that sliding glass door? Do you think you do? Well, go find it this afternoon, all right? And start getting just start getting organized, all right? It's pretty easy to do. Well, this Saturday is December the 7th, and December the 7th, we're going to talk about two things at December the 7th. The first one is this is the end of the line for them trying to sell us Medicare. It started October 1st and goes to December 7th. That is if you want to change Medicare, your Medicare carrier. So if you want to change from Aetna to Humana, or Humana to Aetna, or Unity One to Wellmark, or any place like that, you have until this Saturday, till December 7th, to make that change. Now, the ads on TV, lots and lots and lots of them will go away. That's a good thing. But you'll still see some things. Now, they're not trying to sell you Medicare, change Medicare. They're trying to sell you the 20% gap insurance. Once you change, you're still going to need to buy some insurance for the 20% that Medicare doesn't cover. So those will always go on. There's no let up on that stuff. So you have until this. So you've been wrestling. I don't know whether to change. I don't know whether to go to Aetna. I don't know whether to go to Humana. I don't know whether to go to Mutual of Omaha. You're wrestling and wringing your hands. A lot of things you can do, and I suggest you call local people. They're advertisers right here on senior benefits. Advertisers right here on KCJJ, and I don't work for them, but you could call senior benefits, and they're in the phone book or online, senior benefits, and they do know what they're doing. Talk to you about different companies. They represent all kinds of companies. You explain your situation, they'll give you a couple companies that you could call, and they represent them. So pretty easy call, folks. It really. And I was at a meeting last week, and one of my friends was there, and he's all befuddled on what to do. He's just going to turn 65, has no clue what to do. So I told him just what I'm telling you. He says, I'm starting to get stuff in the mail. I said, well, good for you. You will for a while. And pick one out and go with it. And because this company, if you will, they're all pretty much the same in my opinion. But this company has a little bit less deductible here. They cover this one. That one has a higher deductible, but they do cover this, not that one. You just kind of have to sit down and kind of weigh your options. So go get them. Oh, that's December 7th. This week is the end of that. Now, the other December 7th I want to talk to you about is the real December 7th. Is the 83rd anniversary of Memorial of Pearl Harbor. And in our family, when I was a kid, my dad was a World War II veteran, and he said we will never ever forget Pearl Harbor for the damage that it did to the men and women at Pearl Harbor, but how it changed the world and sucked him into the World War II. At as millions, 11 million people in the Army, in the armed forces at that time. And who knew what the outcome was going to be? My dad figured he'd never come home, and he told his folks that I'll never come home. So that's kind of what it did. So December 7th this year is the 83rd anniversary of Pearl Harbor, a terrible, terrible tragedy that the Japanese thrust upon the unsuspecting Americans, and away you go. So, no, we will not forget. So my salute and heartfelt condolences to all those sailors and Marines and anyone else who lost their lives at Pearl Harbor for absolutely no reason, for sure. All right. A senior lady says this to me. She said, we have too many cars. We need to sell one. What do we do? Well, okay. That's a pretty honest, clear question. I said, number one, go find the title. Now, that relates back to some things that I asked you to do earlier. Get organized and have some of these things in a place. Go find the title. Call a dealer of that model. So you've got a Chevy Impala, a 2014 Chevy Impala, we'll say. Call the Chevy dealership here in town and tell them what you've got, or call anybody you know in the car business. Tell them what you've got, and they'll look up in the Blue Book. It's called the Blue Book. They all use it. Every auto dealer uses it. The NADA, National Automobile Dealer Association, NADA, the NADA Blue Book. They'll give you a range. Well, that thing is worth from $8,000 to $10,000, depending on what you've got, blah, blah, blah. At least you have a inkling on what you could do, all right? And ask them if you had that car in your lot, what would you sell it for? Now, what they would sell it for and what they're going to buy you, if you want them to buy it, are two different things, because, they have to buy it for less and make a profit, all right? So then what you could do, now you know what you're up against there. Now you could go clean it up. You could go vacuum and wash and maybe shampoo the inside if you're a smoker, maybe get some of those car bomb things like that. Hopefully you're not, but you can take it to places here in town that take it inside their shop, and they'll vacuum it and shampoo the seats and clean it all up, make it look like $1 million. and then you could put it in your garage, and then you could try to sell it. You could put it for sale online. You could put it for sale in the windshield and park it in your driveway, back it into your driveway. People can see it's for sale. Call a friend of yours who owns a business in a busy location. Ask them, get permission to park it in their parking lot, so you can do the same thing, and you will get calls, folks. You will definitely get calls. So you're only going to get one time to sell this thing, so don't sell it for too much and don't sell it for too little. Ask the right price, and you get that by calling a couple of dealerships. Maybe ask some of your buddies down at the coffee shop what they think it's worth. You'll get some ideas, and then put a price on it and do your best. That's exactly what you do. And if you have a loan on the car, you got to pay that off. If you don't have a loan, no problem. But if you don't have the title, you can't sell it. If you don't have the title, what can you do? Well, you can go to the Johnson County Administration Building and get a duplicate title. Oh, Rex, we lost the title years ago. We wanted to sell the car. We can't find the title. You go down to the Administration Building on 900 South Dubuque Street, to the DOV office, DOV down there, license plates, where you get your license plates and title, and they will get you. Takes a few days. They'll get you a duplicate license. I think it's, I don't know, $35 or something like that. You're the dumbhead. You lost it, so you have to pay the freight. So that's what you can do. She sounded pretty innocent, so now she has a car to sell. As seniors, we are most susceptible to lifestyle sudden calamities, I call them. It's hard to even talk about a stroke or an accident or a health report that's not good. It's important that you and we all sit down with family and trusted advisors and talk about the other side of that issue. So, if I were to have a stroke, if I were to have a heart attack, here's some things I want you to think about. Here's my medical insurance coverage. So we've got this in that notebook where I keep all the insurance coverage there. We do have Aetna insurance, we'll say, covered for there. And here's, my doctor. You do know our doctor. That's there. Folks, you need to have a list of these things, because what I call sudden calamities, they happen. Car accidents, kaboom. Who knows? Heart attack, you can't get out of your chair and you're gone. These things happen. As seniors, we are most susceptible to that. So I call it get yourself a senior posture. Get yourself a posture as a senior, so you know where all these things are. Your car keys are, your abstracts, your house, your insurance policies, you know where they are. If you have a lockbox at the bank, you know where they're not very big. You can't put much stuff in there, but if you have a safe at home or wherever you have, make sure it's lockable and can't be removed from the house and fireproof, and go to it and put your stuff in there. Get organized, my friends. So after Thanksgiving, we were asked to make a list of things that you might want for Christmas every year, as soon as Thanksgiving is over. The gauntlet was down. I mean, we were ready to go. And I'm going to ask you now, do you remember making the list for Santa Claus? It was fun. I would round up a couple of my buddies, and right there on our living room floor, we would go through the latest Sears catalog, the latest Ward's catalog. And we had information on what was hot and what, as a kid, I'm talking 9 years old, 10, 11 years old, hair, long hair, maybe we were. We had all the information, what was hot and what we needed. The key word needed. Not what. This is Thanksgiving or Christmas. You ask for stuff, anything you want. There, you ask anything you want. It always involved, in my day, it involved Roy Rogers or Gene Autry stuff, or Lone Ranger or the Red Rider, guns and holsters and all that kind of stuff. Anything they had on TV, we wanted it. We had to have it. We demanded it. We had to have it. Maybe ice skates. You saw your buddy got an ice skates or a new sled. Or the latest craze at one time was that saucer type of thing, and I rode on one of those saucers a couple of times going down Finkbine Hill, and I'm telling you, folks, that was a lightning streak. Man, and when they gave me a push down the hill, they kind of twisted, and I went down going round and round the circle, and going 100 miles an hour, and it was fun, but I only did that a couple of times because I'd much rather go down on my sled. And I had a silver streak sled. All the rich kids had a flexible flyer. And the flexible flyers were cool because we usually, when we went down, we laid on them on our stomach. And we tried to steer them, either drag your foot or steer up front. But the flexible flyers, they steered. They were flexible, hence the name flexible flyers. So I never had a flexible flyer, but I rode on. A friend of mine had one. I rode on it a few times. They were pretty darn cool. So there we were on the living room floor asking for all these things, Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and ice skates. And it'd take us, a couple hours, a few times to figure all this out. And in the end, we had a wonderful list of things that we had to have. Just And I know that you remember doing this. I know that you remember making a list for Santa Claus. Well, then your job was to get that list, and we always changed it and added to it. Get it to your mom or your dad because they would pass it on to Santa Claus. They were the official middleman for Santa Claus. All right, that makes all sense. So one year I got ice skates, a hockey stick, and a puck, and I'm telling you, I thought I died and went to heaven. Out the door I went that morning down to the Corville Ice Rink, and I one-man hockey team. I just messed around with that. So it was really, really a wonderful thing to do, and Christmas is a great time. I hope you can celebrate it and have a lot of fun, and also revere in the meaning that it really, truly has. Well, I've got a little tidbit here for you. I've always like people to give you something to go see and maybe go do. Well, since it's kind of cold and iffy, crappy out there, how about something you could drive past? And I've got something you can drive past this weekend. There's University of Iowa has a water tower at the northeast corner of Kinnick Stadium. It's just outside Kinnick Stadium. And remember years ago, the fans all talked about putting a Tiger Hawk on the side of that water tower. And you see some good camera TV shots from the water of the Kinnick Stadium. That water tower is there, that big Tiger Hawk. It looks great. Well, they're going to take that water tower down. It is in harm's way. The university going to do a whole bunch of remodeling and tearing down some buildings over there. So they're building a new water tower. So you could go over to I think it's lot 75 over there, which is across next to the baseball diamond. Not very far, just about 500 yards to the west. They're building it. They're going to putting up a new one. It's about half up in the air. You can go see a water tower being built, and you can stand right next to it. It's huge. You can stand right next to it. Of course, they'll paint it, and hopefully they'll put a U of I or maybe a Tiger Hawk on. I don't know, but it's kind of fun to see that while it's over there. Get a good look at the Wendell Johnson Speech and Hearing Clinic, because that's going to get torn down. A lot of things going on. Lots of things going to happen over there. So that's one thing you could do on your own here. Can we handle winter? Can we handle the snow? Can we handle the ice, the wind? When you get home at night, do you feel like just staying there instead of venturing out on a cold, windy day? Well, that's pretty normal for seniors. That's exactly what we do and how we operate. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you for that. Sometimes it's darker sooner than what it was. And by the way, it's got 3 weeks to go. We'll deal with that. We're going to deal with my winter markers, I call them. We'll be dealing with winter markers in a couple of weeks. But until then, we're just slugging away here and doing our best we can. So this is a great time to thank each and every one of you for listening. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I had a great time at Kinnick Stadium, like you all did. That was a wonderful time. So remember, our new motto here at Senior Talk is do all you can while you can, because the seniors, we just never know. So thanks for listening. This is Rex Brandstatter saying we'll see you next time. So long.
Looking for a place with a fun, casual atmosphere? Check out the Solon American Legion.